Now, today we're making another video. Today we're watching a video called The Dark Side of 1980s Basketball. Now, the last video they was talking about how crazy the early 2000s was with, ball and all that, right? So today, I got a little interested by the end of the video, and I seen a video with Magic Johnson on it, and it said 90s basketball, and they basically was talking about how they had a bunch of drug addicts back then. And crack was kind of crazy in the 80s. I'm not even gonna lie. I know that's a huge saying throughout the years that crack really did something to the 80s, bro. And that's basically like it. Like I feel like a whole drug, like that's so crazy how a whole drug basically just altered our whole timeline, bro. And that's why people tend to, like, a lot of people are messed up nowadays because you often hear about drug addicts and people parents neglecting them for drugs and all that other type of stuff. It's just it's crazy what crack really did to the 80s era, bro. So yeah, we finna get into the video. I'm not even gonna lie, we definitely just gonna get into the video. Cause I really don't know what I'm talking about, regardless of the fact. But yeah, we just want to jump into it. Let's go.
1980s are remembered as the golden era of basketball, when the game was more physical than ever. A new generation of superstars took over, and rivalries were so intense they launched the NBA into a whole new stratosphere of popularity. But behind the scenes, the league was hanging on by a thread. From the biggest star of the era hosting wild freak-offs in his Los Angeles mansion, to cocaine junkies getting into fistfights on the courts before snorting 8 balls. Angeles mansion, to cocaine junkies getting into fistfights on the courts before snorting 8 balls at the club. 1980s basketball was way crazier than you could have ever imagined. Now, the build-up from the 1970s set the stage, but probably not in the way that you think. The 70s totally sucked ass in the NBA, man. It was estimated that upwards of 75% of the league was doing cocaine at this time. And they didn't even bring cokehead energy to the floor, except for the occasional act of violence, like when Kermit Washington nearly killed Rudy Tomjanovich with a punch that shattered his face in 1977. Good shit, Kermit. The NBA was circling the drain. Under Larry O'Brien's weak leadership, the league had zero market.
Bro, do y'all know how you ever watch some videos on TikTok or Instagram, and it basically like it show you the actual strength of like crackheads. Like it's supposed to be funny. That shit is actually real, bro. Like crack really do a lot of crazy shit to your body. Like it's like, think of it as like a steroid. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm pretty sure steroids even have a little bit of crack properties in it too. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. I seen this one cuz literally have a refrigerator on his back riding a bike, and I don't know where the fuck he was going. Bruh.
Getting no star power and was being taken less seriously than college basketball. And every time a superstar looked like they were ready to carry the torch, they'd crash and burn. David Thompson was a high-flying scoring machine. Dude dropped 70 in a game and had the biggest contract in the league.
Smart founders know something most people miss. Get your domain name even if you're not ready to launch your business. With Wix, you can grab yours.
Look how high he is. His hand is up into the rim. His head's almost touching the net. What a great play.
He was idolized by kids around the globe, including Michael Jeffrey Jordan, who modeled his game after him. But fast forward a couple years, and he's in rehab and jail, blown out by cocaine. Then there's Marvin Bad News Barnes, who beat out Moses Malone for Rookie of the Year and was putting up 24 and 16 as a rookie, but lived like he was John Gotti. He'd show up to the locker room in a fur coat and sunglasses with a briefcase full of blow, a lock in his pockets.
Bro, that's how you know for a fact that was Marvin Gaye's era, bro. Like, as soon as I see the fur coat, I just can't get down my head. That's definitely where that nigga came from,
a woman
bro.
On each arm.
What the fuck?
He missed team flights, snorted cocaine on the bench, dropped over $1,000 a day on blow, and was out of the league by 26 years old. Shit really got out of hand. But just when the NBA looked like it was going to collapse entirely, 2 college kids emerged that would end up saving the entire league. Larry Bird, the trash man from Indiana, was now averaging near 30 and 15, dragging Indiana State, a team literally nobody cared about, into the national spotlight. Magic Johnson, a 6'9" point guard with flash, charisma, and vision like we've never seen before or again was lighting up Michigan State. Two Midwest legends, two hometown heroes, one championship game. The 1979 NCAA title between Bird and Magic was easily the most iconic in the history of the sport, drawing in a ridiculous 35.1 million live viewers, the most in college basketball history. And from there, the NBA's luck finally started to turn. Bird was drafted by the Celtics the year prior. Magic went number 1 overall to the rival Los Angeles Lakers. This really seemed to be too good to even script. But in the formation, the league we love,
Bro, so basically, that nigga Larry Bird got like a head start, bro. That's like, that's basically like when they made Bronny James guard Cooper Flag, bro. Like, low key. Like, y'all seen how when Cooper Flag got into the league, Bronny already had a little bit of experience? Like, when he got there, and that nigga was guarding the shit out of him. I think that shit happened to Magic Johnson, too, bro.
dumb luck certainly
Larry
went
Bird was probably shooting his head off at first.
a long way. The rivalry was born, and the stage was set for one of the greatest decades in basketball history. The second they stepped onto an NBA floor, it was like the league got hit with a defibrillator. With just one rookie, the Celtics went from 29 to 61 wins, one of the most insane single-season turnarounds in league
Because
history.
that nigga was smacking them motherfuckers, bro. That's so, bro. This nigga, bro. I don't think y'all understand how much of a lethal shooter this nigga Larry Bird was, bro. I fucking seen the movie, bro, too. And I'm like, yo, this nigga really was knocking them motherfuckers down. And I feel like this nigga really the closest thing to Jokic, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I think that's the one cuz that played for the Denver Nuggets. Or whatever, that one cuz that be shooting from anywhere. Bro, I think y'all remember 2 years ago, this nigga was smacking the shit out of threes, bro. From anywhere. Like, bro, that shit was crazy.
Dominating, he was talking shit, kicking ass, and taking names. He won Rookie of the Year, and Boston was officially back. With literally just the addition of a slow-footed white dude from French Lick, Indiana, the most storied basketball franchise of all time up to that point had gone from a very disappointing aging squad to an NBA championship contender overnight. After a commanding 4-0 sweep over Houston in the first round, Larry Bird and the Celtics matched up with Dr. J, who, outside of Kareem, seemed to be the most dominant player of the prior decade. It was no surprise that the Doctor had his way a bit in the series. But with this kind of run out of just a rookie, it was clear that he was on his way to dominate the league. Well, if this other kid didn't just one-up him. On the other side of the country, Magic Johnson and the Los Angeles Lakers punched their ticket to the biggest show in the world, the NBA Finals. With big names like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Julius Erving, Bobby Jones, and Daryl Dawkins, all with more experience under their belt, this series is where Magic Johnson went from man to legend. After 5 games, the Lakers were up 3-2 heading back to Philadelphia. But after an injury to their star in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, things weren't looking as bright as it may seem. With an all-time great center matching up with you in Daryl Dawkins, and a major hole at the center position from the Lakers, how the hell are you supposed to game plan this? Well, the Lakers were just about as clueless as the rest of us, it seemed, opting to put their starting point guard in Magic Johnson at the center position in an attempt to close out the 76ers at home. It may have seemed like a silly move at the time, but what the Philly crowd was about to witness was one of the greatest individual performances that basketball has ever seen.
Yo. Are y'all seeing this right now? They said Stephen Curry signed a deal with Lining or whatever. I think that's the same company that Kyrie signed to. It's like a Chinese company, bro. You know. I ain't even gonna lie, I don't fuck with that. It's like, yo, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, but damn, like, why you can't go to a company that we know, like Adidas, Nike, Jordan, something? I don't think Stephen Curry would go to Jordan. That seemed a little bad. Yeah. Or Stephen Curry just create his own company, but like, I'm sick of how like all these players just keep going to these foreign companies, bro. Like, I don't fuck with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's
On the bad pass. Norman comes back, and here's Magic inside for the layup. Sending to the free throw.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Line. Jones. 9 on the shot clock. Whip it inside to Magic. then are out of position when they commit fouls like that play on Cooper.
Here comes the 20-year-old rookie down the middle. Dawkins went to him and scored and sent him to the line.
With one of the craziest stat lines in a closeout game in history at 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists with 3 steals and a block, Magic Johnson had one of the best finals performances of all time, let alone for just a rookie. With Bird seemingly ready to gain control of the East and Magic already on top of
But
the world,
look, y'all know what
the
I think
NBA
was crazier? These niggas was basically wearing the shoes that we like walk in every day. Like, I don't really know how to explain this shit to you. But y'all know how we got like Air Forces and stuff, and you got like the old like Adidas with the little stripes. These niggas was wearing that to play basketball. Like I really looked at that and I was like, bro, how the fuck are these niggas not getting no type of injuries to like any of their legs? They probably did. Like it probably did impact them in the future, cause I remember I seen a video, bro, and that nigga Kareem Abdul-Jabbar can like barely stand up. Like, I think he needed a cane or something like that. I don't remember, but like, he actually like, I don't know. He just looked. I don't know. It just looked like it makes them like the type of shit that they used to wear just because they didn't have enough cushion on it. Cause I know them shoes ain't have enough cushion. You can't lie about that. Like I know they wasn't. Them niggas was basically wearing skateboard shoes to hoop, and they would and. Don't forget about this too. Them niggas was wearing Ricks as well. I don't even know if I can say Rick Owens, bro. But them niggas was wearing shit like that, bro. Like they was actually no, I think it was Chucks. Niggas was wearing Chucks to play basketball. I still can't get past that, bro. How the fuck was y'all doing that?
Really back on
That
top.
leather is so thin, bro.
Well, in actuality, this wasn't even close to the truth. The NBA was so far behind other sports that Magic Johnson's legendary performance was on tape delay, broadcasted hours behind its actual occurrence. This may seem ridiculous nowadays, but even with the addition of superstar talent in the 1980 season, the NBA was still a fucking joke, man. Drugs still reigned over the NBA like a dark cloud that would not go away. Terry Furlow was a good friend of NBA greats like Julius Erving and Isaiah Thomas, who had reached a high point in his career. When talking about Furlow, his Atlanta coach stated, he was competitive as hell. He'd fight you in a game, and he understood the toughness of the NBA. There were some other things that he just couldn't get past. Sadly, Furlow was a contributor to the cocaine problem in the NBA. He was a good player, by most accounts, a good father, friend, and teammates, but sadly his problem with drugs would inevitably destroy him that season. After closing the door on what was his best season to date with the Utah Jazz, Furlow would go out with teammate Foots Walker for a few beers and maybe a little booger sugar as well. Unfortunately, Terry Furlow decided to drive home that night, crashing into a light pole with cocaine and Valium in his system, along with open beers and bags of weed in the car, killing himself and leaving his son fatherless.
Damn.
At the same time is when the GOAT Marvin Barnes would be playing his final days in the NBA at the end of his downward spiral. This dude was so coked up, not understanding the concept of time zones, and refused to step onto a plane that was set to land earlier than it departed because, quote, I ain't getting in no damn time machine. Marvin Barnes opted to rent a car and drive 5 hours in a rental instead. I mean, this guy was so messed up on drugs, he damn near became a different person. My motto was live hard and die young. I didn't expect to be around long, so I figured I'd die in a shootout where I grew up. I lived for the moment, so I drank, used marijuana, and snort coke when I could. The coke intensified everything. When I got that rush, I thought the coke was making me a better ball player. Barnes, although promising at one point, was a complete shell of himself by the 1980 season, averaging 3 points a game, and was also getting in trouble for shit like taking loaded guns on airplanes. Barnes would not find another contract in the NBA, would bounce from prison cells to couches after spending all of his $4 million NBA earnings on drugs. With promising young stars doing shit like this, man, even with the picture-perfect new faces of the NBA staring you dead in the eye, to say that the future of the NBA was all sunshine and rainbows isn't even close to the truth. Through all the drugs, through all the violence, and through all the darkness, all Larry Bird could think about was that bastard Magic Johnson that had beaten him out in the national championship and now just won a damn NBA Finals while he was just getting his feet wet. And in the 1981 season, this guy for damn sure wasn't going to let this happen again. With 21, 11, and 5.5 on a 62-20 Celtics squad, Bird was already second in MVP voting in his second NBA season. But with the big-time additions of Robert Parrish as a defensive bruiser and Kevin McHale poising as a big-time interior scorer, these Celtics were legit. After sweeping the Chicago Bulls in the first round, it looked like the Celtics' Cinderella run was about to meet a brutal end to the same hands as the year prior.
Yo, what did the Chicago Bulls roster look like before Jordan? That's really
Led by Julius Erving and Daryl
curious
Dawkins, the
question,
Philadelphia 76ers came out swinging, jumping out to a commanding 3-1 series lead. The Celtics looked overmatched, outclassed, and for the second year in a row,
Why is everyone so fired up?
It's a Stanley Cup playoffs. That's a shift matters every
with just a group of kids getting shown up by a dude who had been there before. But then, Larry Bird turned it into a goddamn movie. With 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists, Bird dragged Boston to a narrow 2-point win in Game 5, keeping their season alive. And from that moment on, the series turned into an all-out war. This was 80s basketball at its purest. These two teams truly didn't give two fucks about the well-being of the other, with a level of physicality that would put a modern-day ref into cardiac arrest. Game 6, a 2-point thriller. Game 7, a 1-point nail-biter. And when the dust finally settled, the Boston Celtics were back on top. And one of the most intense basketball towns on earth, this unassuming white kid who just a few years ago was picking up trash after quitting basketball had become the new face of the NBA. And just like that, in only his second year in the league, Larry Bird was headed to the NBA Finals. 2 years ago, this Boston team was struggling to pack seats, Moses Malone was the MVP of the league, and the Celtics were winning 20-some games. Fast forward to 1981, and Larry's Celtics were busting Malone's Rockets in 6 games to take home an NBA championship. This was certainly a sweet one, man. Not only did Larry Bird do it as the undisputed leader of the team, which in Magic's case was certainly debatable at best, but dropping off the team who Magic's Lakers lost to take home a championship in just your second season is something that went down in the history books.
Now, Larry, as soon as he got that ball, knew he missed it. He knew he missed it right. He took off right to the basket again, not being boxed off the boards. Made an incredible recovery and shot it in with his left hand. Just a great, great shot. You won't see a much better move than that.
Seconds, one, and a world champion, the Boston Celtics.
By 1982, the product of the NBA had seen a clear turnaround. Although their stories were just beginning to be written, there was a clear light at the end of the tunnel with an ultra-marketable smile in Los Angeles and an equally marketable mullet in Boston. But that's not to say that everything on their ends was perfect. In Sports Illustrated's season preview, Coach Paul Westhead, who led the Lakers to the 1980 championship, was praised for his continued success in Los Angeles. But less than 2 weeks into the season, despite the team holding a solid 7-4 record and riding a 5-game win streak, tensions boiled over. Magic Johnson, frustrated with Westhead's system and direction, exploded in the locker room and demanded the coach be fired immediately. The next day, Westhead was out of there. The media pounced, labeling Magic a coach killer, a reputation that stuck, especially after a rocky prior season. Suddenly, the league's golden boy was being painted as a moody, high-maintenance star, no matter how brilliant his play. The Lakers were winning at an elite rate. Truly, the 1-2 punch with Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was unstoppable. But things weren't exactly peachy in the locker room. Kareem and Magic would at times butt heads in a way that made them seem on different wavelengths. Kareem states that at times Magic would stray away from what made them great in the first place. But given their own individual greatness as well as their success as a duo, there really isn't too much to complain about here. Where things got awkward is with the other Lakers point guard in Norm Nixon. Nixon may not be too well known, but this guy was a legitimate all-star, playing a double point guard lineup next to Magic Johnson. That's a pretty unique role to mesh to, and Norm had the talent to get that done. Where things became a little weird was in the different treatment of both of them. Nixon was always insulted and put down throughout Jerry West's tenure as the coach, and although claiming to not be intimidated by the drafting of Magic Johnson, teammates and witnesses claim otherwise. Jealousy is ugly, Michael Cooper said, and we all knew Norman was really jealous. I'm not sure if this guy was insecure or really competitive, but the Nixon-Magic feud got pushed to a weird extent. Nixon saw everything Magic did as competition. For the ball, for playing time, for women, who's the coolest, who's the smartest. Me and Cooper would just sit back and watch. They certainly respected each other, but there was this weird tension. The Norm Nixon-Magic Johnson beef came to a screeching halt when Norm would be in an overly publicized deal to the Clippers. To this day, Magic and the Lakers claim Magic didn't have a part in this, in which Nixon himself still believes, but that didn't make the scenario any less strange. The Lakers received word that Nixon may have had a bit of a drug problem, which would of course be as good of a reason as any to ship him out of Los Angeles, where the fit wasn't perfect for a number of reasons. At this point, Nixon was being followed by investigators hired by Jerry West, who claimed to have found him at one point speaking to drug dealers. Reports of Nixon being a cokehead who was caught buying Quaaludes surfaced, which were denied by multiple close parties of Nixon. But regardless, the weird locker room tension in Los Angeles only became weirder as Nixon would be traded following the issue. Despite drama at every twist and turn, shit just always tends to work out for the Lakers, man. They crushed the rest of the league in the 1982 season. They finished 57-25, which may not seem insane on paper, but they swept the Suns in the first, swept the Spurs in the second, and spanked the 76ers in 6 games in the NBA Finals to hoist the trophy after only losing 2 games all playoffs. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more unfair, the Lakers walked into the draft and grabbed James Worthy with the first pick. How the hell do you beat that? James Worthy fit their up-tempo offense like a glove, serving as one of the best third options in NBA history. I mean, this is why everyone hates these guys, man. Even when shit seems to be hitting the fan, of course it always just has to end up peachy perfect. And Larry Bird was
Did
hitting
they
every
all
minute,
dribble like
playing
that
with a
back
bit
then?
of
Like,
championship hangover.
bro, I don't know how niggas didn't get that shit stolen, but bro, I got a homeboy that dribble exactly like that, and I can't seem to steal the ball from him, so I kind of get it. Like, how the fuck do you train yourself to dribble like that? That's crazy.
The 1982 season was a low point for Larry Bird. Larry finished as second in MVP voting, which you could just come to expect from him at this point, but with a big 3 of his own in Boston, and the number 1 odds to take home another championship, Larry fell flat on his face. Matching up with the squad that gave him more hell than any, the Philadelphia 76ers just had this guy's number, holding Bird to well below his regular season averages at just 18 points, on 41% from the field and 20% from 3. The Philadelphia 76ers were able to contain the Birdman enough to squeak by into the NBA Finals. I mean, this was his worst series of his life. Larry was richer than his wildest dreams as a poor kid from Indiana, touched gold in his second season, and by his fourth, was somewhat coasting. At 56-26, this was the worst Celtics team with Larry Bird on the roster up to this point.
I always clean the outside part of my MacBook. But here's the part that most people seem to forget.
And matching up with the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round, the Bucks may have been a higher seed, but this was cakework. Sidney Moncrief and Marquise Johnson, these are very good players, and I'd even call them very underrated, yet these guys shouldn't be beating Bird, McHale, and Parrish in a 7-game series, and these guys sent the Celtics packing in a 4-0 sweep. What the fuck? The Celtics were at the lowest points of the Larry Bird era. Sure, this guy was able to get them 1 championship, but who knew if this thing was a one-time run, or if this guy was going to elevate to the next level.
Say?
And getting swept by the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round really wasn't giving anyone much hope. Around the league, the chaos was continuing. When New York has a team to be proud of, the NBA seems to be a lot more lively, and Michael Ray Richardson was carrying the city on his back. Michael Ray Richardson, nicknamed Sugar Ray for his smooth game, was a 6'5" athletic guard with elite defensive instincts and the tools to become one of the greatest guards of all time. In fact, Magic Johnson himself once said Richardson played exactly like him, and if you watch the film, it's kinda hard to disagree. After 4 years of steady growth at Montana, Sugar Ray was ready to shine in the NBA. But under Coach Red Holzman, a coach known for not trusting rookies, his first season was rocky. New York Knicks fans quickly labeled him a bust. But the moment he was given a real opportunity, Richardson flipped the narrative. In his sophomore season, he exploded for 15 points, a league-leading 10 assists, and 3 steals per game on much improved efficiency, earning an all-star selection. Just like that, he went from potential bust to the franchise's cornerstone. For Richardson, who had just spent 4 years tucked away in Montana, being the center of attention in the biggest city in the country was intoxicating. Like many young, college-aged athletes with addictive personalities and a deep desire to be liked, he surrounded himself with the wrong people doing the wrong things. What started as casual partying, bars, clubs, and recreational drug use soon spiraled into something much more dangerous. Initially, it didn't show on the court. Through his third and into the start of his 4th season, Richard kept producing. He was basically a baby Magic Johnson, arguably even quicker, and the best perimeter defender at his position. Larry Bird even said outside of Magic, Sugar Ray was the sweetest point guard in the league, but it wasn't a sudden collapse, it was a slow unraveling. His drug use became more frequent, and his performance started to dip during the '82 season. After Holzman, who Richardson respected, was fired, New coach Hubie Brown didn't tolerate his lifestyle. The partying now affected his game, and Richardson was shipped off to Golden State in a deal for Bernard King. Ironically, King would also spiral due to substance abuse, leading to multiple violence and sexual offenses. You really just couldn't get away from it at the time. As for Richardson, the change of scenery didn't help. He clung to the NYC lifestyle, even refusing to leave the arena until the Warriors sent someone to renegotiate his contract. Once he finally joined the team, he immediately fell apart. His partying was no longer casual. It was a full-blown addiction. His scoring dropped from 18 to 12 points per game, and his behavior became volatile. Getting into fights with teammates and coaches, Golden State just dumped him 33 games later. The
I mean,
former
of course
All-Star
that's gonna happen, bro. Like, you gotta realize when you trade NBA players off, bro, and this is the first time I've heard that, bro. From what's it called? Oh yeah, I was saying we heard that similar thing from Jared McCain. He ain't, bro. He wasn't on drugs, bro. But it's like y'all gotta understand when you trade these players off and they don't know about it, like it takes a huge toll on their mental health, bro. So it's like if they already had addictions to drugs, weed, all that other type of stuff, narcotics, that shit makes it way worse. You know what I'm saying? Like the NBA will trade you and you will literally be on the road at the same time. And you will never get to see your crib ever again. Y'all know how crazy that is? Like the first time when I heard Jared McCain say that he said he was on the road with the 76ers, bro, and then he heard he got traded, and he never seen his house since. He never got back to Philly to see his house since, bro. Do y'all know how crazy that is, bro? Like, I feel like the whole mental of that will fuck you up. Like, I know people got money and shit, right? But y'all gotta understand this, gang. That's your house, bro. That's your house. You can't even simply just go back there and get your stuff. Like, you gotta get brand new clothes, a brand new crib. Like, it don't matter how. And then y'all already know nowadays, bro, you really have to have credit in order to even buy a crib. That's not to say the man was homeless, but he probably had a whole bunch of money, so he could have did anything with it. But it's like, bro, the nigga probably homesick. And I feel like that's also what happened to Russell Westbrook as well, bro. Like, niggas really like when they been in a place so long that they end up thinking it's their home and then they get traded off. That should be. I already understand how that would fuck somebody up. Like, seriously, bro.
Earl wasn't an exciting young prospect anymore. He was now a financially ruined, drug-addicted player living paycheck to paycheck. He'd reportedly burned through his NBA earnings, spending lavishly on drugs in 16 different cars. People were literally hunting him down on the East Coast for unpaid debts. A trade to the New Jersey Nets brought him back near New York, but things only got worse. Now he wasn't hitting clubs, he was visiting crack houses. His performance continued to tank, and he bounced in and out of rehab. At this time, the NBA honestly desperately needed a star to take the reign outside of just Magic and Bird duking it out. In the 1983 season, the Lakers would end up losing the NBA Finals in a 4-0 sweep to Dr. J, who at this point was clearly...
You're using AI every day, but you're leaving 80% of it on the table.
Yo, bro, go ahead, bro.
Next time you open ChatGPT,
Really on his back 9 at 32 years old. This problem didn't seem to have an escape route in sight. Similar to Sugar Ray, many co-stars in the league were falling out due to the same demons that crushed the league throughout the 1970s to establish any real parity in the NBA. John Drew was once one of the league's most electric scorers, averaging near 25 points per game at his peak and earning 2 All-Star selections in the late 70s. A smooth, natural bucket getter, he looked like a future All-Star, but behind the scenes, Drew was spiraling. Introduced to cocaine in 1977, his casual use quickly morphed into a full-blown freebasing addiction. Remarkably, he kept producing on the court, masking the chaos with box scores, but his behavior became erratic. Skipping practices, missing flights, and constantly chasing high, Atlanta sent him to rehab 3 times, but nothing stuck. By 1982, the Hawks had seen enough and traded him to Utah for Dominique Wilkins. It didn't help. Within weeks, Jazz coach Frank Layden caught on. Drew missed more time, and in November of '82, he was sent back to rehab after finally admitting his problem. By 1983, the man who once averaged 24 a night was hanging on in Utah's starting lineup as just another one of the decade's countless drug problems. The NBA's behind-the-scenes chaos was a shadow the league just couldn't shake. No matter how bright the lights or how charming the stars, not even Magic Johnson with his $1 million smile and squeaky clean image could fully escape it. Magic was vocal about staying away from drugs and alcohol, and that discipline helped him dominate the league. That's not to say he didn't have a vice of his own. As most fans know, Magic loved women, but around this time the whispers started. Rumors that his off-court lifestyle was getting more extreme than anyone realized. Before I was married, I truly lived the bachelor's life. I'm no Wilt Chamberlain, but as I traveled around NBA cities, I was never at a loss for female companionship. I confess that after arriving in LA in 1979, I did my best to accommodate as many women as I could. That was Magic Johnson speaking, describing how he eventually contracted HIV during his career. That simple phrase, accommodate as many women as I
Stay away
could,
from a bunch
sums
of
up
shit.
not only Magic's life off the court, but also the lifestyles of the entire Showtime Lakers team. From the owner Jerry Buss all the way down to the 15th man on the roster, everyone embraced a culture of excess when it came to women. Jerry Buss, the Lakers owner, was infamous for his womanizing. He did a revolving door of barely legal young women, enticing them with promises of college tuition, fancy dinners, and expensive gifts. Shoes, cars, you name it. Buss even kept a photo album of his conquest to show off to his friends. But he wasn't just a player, he did genuinely help some of these women financially and stayed in touch with them to make sure they were okay after he moved on. Eccentric, absolutely. Heartless, not entirely. But Jerry Buss's escapades were tame compared to Magic Johnson's legendary womanizing. Imagine this. You arrive at a hotel in New York City with your friends, and in the lobby there's a swarm of women just waiting to throw themselves at you. Then you get to your room, and there are a dozen of perfume-scented cards scattered everywhere, each with a different woman's phone number on it. For most guys, that's a fantasy beyond belief. For Magic Johnson and the rest of the Showtime Lakers, that was just another Tuesday. Wherever the Lakers went, at least 40 to 50 women would wait in the hotel lobby for the players, mostly for Magic Johnson. Magic saw it as his duty to accommodate as many of them as possible. He'd bring them up to his hotel room for a while, then send them on their way, no strings attached and no follow-up. Unlike Buss, Magic wasn't interested in keeping tabs or supporting these women.
Yo, imagine how
afterwards.
many of them bitches probably got something, bro. Yo, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I thought this generation was worse, bro. Like, I don't think you would see nothing like that nowadays. Like, you barely hear anything about that in the news with NBA players. Like, you would normally hear about them getting a divorce, cheating on their girlfriend, something like that. Or just, them having like a video leaked or something. You don't hear about them doing this with a bunch of women, bro. They probably do it behind the scenes, though. It's just like, maybe they make people sign a waiver, but I don't know.
Always on
Maybe this was before waivers.
the next.
You know what I'm saying?
And it didn't stop there.
Because who the fuck knew you could really have a note or you can have something that somebody can sign so they just shut their mouth. You know what I'm saying? So that's how he probably contract. Actually, I'm not even going to say that's how he contract that shit, bro. That shit would happen regardless.
The hotel groupies, Magic would call a few of these women whose numbers he had
At
collected.
no point
from
did this
the
nigga say he
post-groupie
had to
pick-me-up
chill.
Before practice, then after practice, more women would be waiting outside the Lakers facility ready to see him. After the game, it was off to the club with teammates, with Magic often carrying 20 to 30 women draped over his arms. And back to the hotel with a few more before calling it a night. This cycle repeated every day throughout the grueling 82-game NBA season. And if you think that's wild, wait till you hear about the parties Magic threw at his LA mansion. Hollywood actresses, strippers, college students, all invited by the dozens. Some women bragged openly about their encounters with Magic, while others kept their lives secret. At these infamous parties, it was said that by midnight, everyone had to be busy. If a woman refused, Magic would personally escort her out and ban her from further gatherings. Imagine how explosive this story would be if it broke today. But back then, there was no social media or smartphones to catch it all on tape. But the Lakers party culture wasn't just about the players.
This nigga Magic
The
Johnson,
Forum
bro.
Club, the unofficial Lakers brothel, was the epicenter of the action. After games, players from both teams rushed there to pick.
Tired of having to stream in 720p in StreamYard or having to pay more to get 1080p quality? We got you. Start using EVMux, which is a web-based live stream.
Pick from a buffet of women, with Magic always arriving last to claim the spoils. Musicians, actors, athletes from other sports, anyone who was anyone in LA would show up for the drinks, women, and drugs. I mean, at this point in time, the NBA was certainly elevated from its darkest days in the 1970s, when 80s freak-offs are the whispers behind the scenes, and star-level talent is still frequently declining due to issues going on behind the scenes. How great can your league's optics really be? The NBA was at a crossroad in 1983. The path of degeneracy, low ratings, and negative public perception was the most likely path for the league at this time. But lucky for them, 1984 was the most impactful season in NBA history. The year started off with a bang, with former league attorney David Stern getting the keys to the castle. Immediately, David Stern made his mark, implementing a 3-strike drug policy introduced to give players help that they needed, incentivizing taking accountability for your own mistakes, and most of all, to take care of the NBA's drug problem for good. This guy wasn't playing around. Sugar Ray Richardson may have been one of the sweetest guards in the league, but David Stern looked the man in the eyes and told him he will never play in the NBA again, slapping a lifetime ban on his wrist. John Drew didn't want to stop smoking crack rocks. Banned. The problem in the NBA didn't stop immediately, but at a time where it was rumored that 75% of the league was on drugs, David Stern made it known that for a problem this serious, the punishment was going to be even more severe, laying down the blueprint for a world with a clean NBA. With the league's biggest issue finally being addressed, this made way for one of the greatest seasons of basketball that the league had ever seen. Dr. J was looking for a repeat ring before riding away in the sunset, and had certainly made a few rivals in the league in his year so far. Magic was looking for a bounce-back season after playing the worst basketball of his career in his final sweep the year prior. And Larry Bird, after 2 years of silence, had a chip on his shoulder that led to the best basketball of his entire career. Despite only shooting 24% from deep, Larry Bird put up totals of 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 6.6 assists per game, on the way to his first MVP of his career. This guy was the most versatile offensive threat in the league, and likely the best player in the world at this point in time. Despite not yet developing the three-point consistency he'd later be known for, this guy was one of the best point forwards of all time, with a killer mid-range game, post work, and just a brain that moved quicker than everyone else's on the floor. While Magic and Kareem were essentially neck and neck on the Lakers, Bird was the clear leader of the Celtics squad that contained super legitimate depth and physicality to get back to the promised land. After a 62-20 regular season, Larry Bird carried the Celtics over the Bullets in round 1, the Knicks in round 2, and gave the Bucks a personal ass-beating of a series to get them back for the year prior, and catapult his team back into the NBA Finals. Boston was back, man. After a 2-year hiatus where Bird's longevity and legacy were given significant doubt, the best season of his career landed Boston back to where they belong. The only problem was that Magic Johnson and the Los Angeles Lakers were waiting for them on the other side. These Lakers really were having no problems with the West throughout the early 80s, man. With Magic and Kareem providing more star power than you could ask for, James Worthy quickly coming into his own, Jamal Wilkes playing really well, and Michael Cooper serving as the best Bird stopper he ever faced. The NBA was getting the matchup they so badly desired. In his 5th year in the NBA, each season had featured one of the 2 teams in the NBA Finals. But it took until 1984 for the worlds to collide. The war between the number 1 ranked Celtics and the team that looked to be their kryptonite was said to be one of the greatest finals matchups in history, and let's just say it didn't disappoint.
The Worthy, the Randall, he should go the distance. Oh, benches have emptied. They knew this was going to happen. You could see it coming.
Bird and Kareem fighting for the rebound. And Kareem hit him with an elbow, and he's upset. Now Bird over there saying, "Why did you hit me?" And Kareem saying, "Listen."
All-out slugfest of physicality resulted in one of the most legendary series in NBA history. Back and forth drama, late game heroics, and some outrageous scoring explosions. Larry Bird came up huge in an OT thriller, while Magic Johnson reminded the world why he was already the greatest playmaker to ever touch a basketball. Trading wins like heavyweight punches, the series got ugly. Elbows flew, bodies hit the floor, and tempers ran high. Add in the sweltering Boston Garden, no air conditioning in games 5 and 7, and it felt like basketball in a furnace. If you're a fan of 80s basketball antics, you'd rewatch this series more than any other. Bird dropped 27 and grabbed 14 boards in the finale, doing everything he could to bring it home. And when you're facing Magic, Kareem, and Worthy in a 100-degree hotbox, nothing feels comfortable.
Damn, what the Oh my god. I ain't never played in the gym that bad before. But that's the crazy part about the 80s, bro. All the gyms look hot as shit like that. Like, bro.
Especially after getting pounded.
I realized that on TV, too. I be like, man, I know that gym hot as hell.
Game 7 could have gone either way. The stakes were enormous. This wasn't just a championship, it was a potential shift in the league's power. But the Garden, packed to the gills. And then they let a few more fans in. Bird didn't shoot well, but Cedric Maxwell delivered in the clutch, and Bird still found ways to impact every other part of the game. With fans creeping onto the courts and the tension at its peak, Bird sealed the game at the line, ice cold, and the Celtics claimed their 15th title. And man, this one had to feel good. Bird was now a two-time champ, an MVP at age 27, already carving his name into the all-time list and tying Magic at 2 rings apiece, while stopping him from getting his third. That probably.
Bob told us that they
Hey,
were
come
gonna
on, bro,
test
stop.
the alien
Fuck.
that night.
Probably meant more than anything else. I wasn't alive for another 15 years, but this final still gives me goosebumps, man. The 2 biggest stars in basketball emerging into their primes at the same time, finally getting their chance to show the world what they can do with a 7-game back-and-forth series that kept the world wanting more. This is why your dad won't shut the fuck up about the old days, man. Basketball was as big as it had ever been with Larry Bird on the cover of every magazine, and Magic Johnson being the star of every commercial. But if this season couldn't get any crazier with the West Coast and East Coast rivalry fully formed, the Midwest would get their own superstar that they could hang their hat on.
And now we are ready for the 3rd pick, and the Chicago Bulls, who have been drafting very high down through the years, and they have the 3rd pick today. The Chicago Bulls pick Michael Jordan at the University of North Carolina.
With a new superstar to be in Chicago, what a better piece to spice up the league at the time it was finally catching its break than adding the talent that would go on to become the greatest player it has ever seen. The 1984 season truly changed everything for the NBA, because after this point, basketball was officially must-see TV. Magic and Bird came back even better, man, with Magic increasing his statistical output up to 18, 12.6, and 6 with 62 wins for the season, only to come in 2nd place in MVP to Bird, who put up a crazy 29, 10, and 7, now shooting a ridiculous 52, 43, and 88. The Bird-Magic rivalry was looking as strong as ever, now with more than enough surrounding pieces to keep the league exciting. Jordan put up crazy totals for a rookie, scoring 26.5 points with 6 boards and 5.5 assists per game to take home the Rookie of the Year. At the same time, the Rockets and their number 2 pick and Hakeem Olajuwon made a crazy leap up 20 wins after forming one of the most unique lineups of all time with Hakeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson. Even the formation of the Bad Boys Pistons, who took over the league, had began to form, but let's get to that later. The league was at a high point with up-and-coming talent, keeping excitement at its peak.
Man,
But
hell
throughout the
no.
excitement,
What the
Bird and
fuck?
Magic did everything they could to
Oh,
keep the
nah,
league in the
man.
palm of their hands. Bird was beating the fuck out of Dr. J for looking at him funny. Magic was farming aura by admitting to smashing 6 chicks at once. It was pretty exciting times.
bro.
To make what was basically a short playoff season shorter, Bird and the Celtics sprinted to the East, stomping out the Sixers, who were no longer on the same planet as them, and the Lakers were basically a guarantee to make the finals as long as Magic stayed healthy. So come the time for the NBA Finals, the world got
It's
the rematch
crazy.
they were waiting for.
I ain't gonna
After a
lie, this
complete
crazy.
ass whooping in Game 1 from the Celtics, the Lakers flat out looked like the better team. Despite being about 72 years old, Kareem just stayed calm and consistently tossed
I don't
hook
have enough
shots
people in
into the
Philly
basket, winning Finals MVP and getting back the Celtics in a 4-2
Damn.
series win with Kareem's 29 points, Worthy's 28, and Magic's triple-double, taking down Boston on their own home turf.
I'm texting
These guys owned the decade, man, with 5 of the first 6 chips of the 1980s going to either the Lakers or Celtics. These guys each had etched their name in the
I'ma
history
wait a
books
little
by this
bit.
point,
I'ma
but by
wait a little bit.
1986,
Is
things had already started to change. The rise of the Twin Towers was unlike anything that the NBA had ever seen before. The Houston Rockets may have won just 51 games in the regular season, but come playoff time in a 7-game series, you were going to have an insanely difficult time matching up with these guys. Hakeem Olajuwon was what I believe to be the greatest defender to ever live, averaging 3.4 blocks and 2 steals per game. He was ridiculous, while his power forward sharing the block next to him was a 7'4" freak of an athlete. At a time where the Lakers literally owned the Western Conference, this team was the one that looked to be set to push them out of
Wait,
their
so how
position.
tall is
But
Wemby?
who would have guessed it would be this soon? Matching up with the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, Olajuwon and Sampson proved to be a total matchup nightmare for a team that was getting quite a bit older. Combining for 50, 20,
That would have been
6,
crazy if they was
6
actually able to
blocks per
shoot,
game.
though.
The Lakers' repeat tour was embarrassingly shut down by a team led by a 23-year-old center in just 5 games. The Celtics had less of an issue getting through the East after a 67-win season led by Larry Bird with the rare MVP three-peat. The Celtics squad was likely the best Celtics team that the city has ever seen. But with a pair of bigs waiting for them on the other side, this matchup truly did feel like the other's biggest kryptonite. With Parrish, McHale, and the addition of former MVP Bill Walton, the Celtics may have had the second best front court in the NBA, while matching with far and away the best in the NBA. But luckily for the Celtics, with the MVP on their squad, he could provide a 24-point near triple-double to send the Rockets home in 6. Despite a bit of a shakeup, the league truly did reside in the hands of the two giants in LA and Boston. But unfortunately for Houston, and unfortunately for the world, this thing was about to collapse. The duo of Lewis Lloyd and Mitchell Wiggins provided the Houston Rockets with essential perimeter scoring, rounding out what was truly a championship-caliber roster. Averaging 17 and 11 points per game respectively on the Western Conference champs, these two shooting guards were no pushovers. Known as friendly rivals, competing for minutes and dominance at their position, they were more importantly best friends. Though somewhat detached from the rest of the team, their fierce competitiveness in practice was undeniable. Some would call them the best shooting guard tandem in the league outside of Michael Jordan, whoever the hell backed them up. But as intense as they were on the courts, they were just as wild off of it, frequently attending some of Houston's shadiest bars and clubs during the city's booming nightlife era. Lloyd and Wiggins kept their distance from teammates and found themselves mixed up with all the wrong crowds. While much of this period is undocumented and speculative, everything changed 32 games in the 87 season when one night, after leaving the club, a stranger approached them, a self-proclaimed fan, offering a bump of the finest cocaine they had ever seen. Tempted,
JD is outside. You, just you, building your app on base 44.
They indulged, sparking a chain of events that would shatter their careers. The following day, after word spread of their drug use, both players were summoned privately. An anonymous tip had reached the NBA, and soon after, the shocking news broke. Both had failed drug tests, and a move that stunned the sports world, Commissioner David Stern made an example out of them, handing down lifetime bans for their very first offense. The banning really took out the Rockets for the following season, before lower body injuries to Ralph Sampson would essentially end his career.
Nah, I
Changing
ain't gonna
trajectory
lie,
of the
that
Rockets-
nigga David Stern was, bruh, he's putting belts
It
in
was the
their ass,
championship
yo.
window for the time. At the same time, Michael Jordan was battling lower body injuries. The next man up after Bird and Magic was in doubt, and the problem that David Stern had set up to stop was blasted to an all-time high. The 1986 draft was the worst of all time. It's not because of busts, but in that regard, the lack of talent didn't help it whatsoever, but more so guys like Roy Tarpley, who put together a career filled with boozing and cocaine before being banned from the NBA. Twice. Chris Washburn was the 3rd overall pick, who played just 2 years in the NBA, averaged 3 points per game, would do enough blow to kill a man, and ended up being homeless on the street and stealing money from his aging mother's purse. But this wasn't even as bad as the story that the world couldn't stop talking about. Len Bias, drafted 2nd overall, maybe the biggest what-if in NBA history. With a frame closer to an Olympian than a basketball player and freakish athleticism, Len Bias should have been what the Boston Celtics needed as the lucky little cherry on top to their championship season. But instead, Len Bias wouldn't make it out of draft night. After ripping line after line of that pure Colombian, Len Bias would be found dead the next morning, leaving one of the most tragic stories in NBA history. All eyes were shifting back to the league, which was supposed to be doing its best to erase these issues. Instead, players were still constantly letting it ruin their careers. Bernard King, the replacement for crackhead Sugar Ray Richardson, was also ripping blow by the pound and committing sex crimes. The league's degeneracy was at an all-time high. But when the league thinks you're a bunch of thugs, you might as well lean into it. 1987 marked the official rise of the Bad Boys Pistons. They didn't have all the talent in the world, but what they could do was beat the living shit out of you. So, that's what they did.
Baseline goes underneath. Dishes off now to Bird. And there is a violent knockdown by Lambeer. Oh my! A completely unnecessary foul.
They don't give
He
a
pulled
fuck.
Bird to the ground. He slammed him to the ground.
Yo! He got fucking through the wall there.
Lambeer, Isaiah Thomas, Dennis Rodman, and Joe Dumars, not the most talented squad in the world, but in a league that was already as physical as any, they overstepped the line entirely to force their name into championship contention. The Pistons had ran through the East a bit before matching up with Boston, and these dudes took every shot they could to try to chip away at the much more talented ball club. I can't lie, this shit worked, pushing the Celtics to 7 games, but due to a big slip-up with the most infamous steal and dish in NBA history, and a torching hot Larry Bird in Game 7, the Celtics were able to send home the bad boys Pistons, but at what cost? The Celtics hobbled into the NBA Finals with an injured supporting cast that was clearly at the back half of their run of dominance, while the Lakers were there to meet them with the now MVP Magic Johnson taking home his first trophy over a young Michael Jordan who just put up a
That
retarded
nigga
37
Magic
points per
Johnson
game
definitely
in his
do
third
look older in that
the
picture.
Lakers were able to handle the
You could
Celtics
tell.
game, but really had gone through war in that Eastern Conference, and in the next season, they would have an even bigger
Them
struggle.
niggas in the
The Celtics
80s
and
was
Pistons would
aging
get into a
fast
rematch
as
in the
fuck.
next
How?
season, but there is only so much of a beating that one dude can take. Bird and the Celtics went down in 6 before back issues from his years of dominance, all started by shoveling gravel in his mom's driveway, would effectively end the Celtics' run of dominance. The Pistons were steadily improving, beating down on not only the Celtics, but the Chicago Bulls in 5 games that had what was probably already the best player on the planet. Come the finals against the Lakers, who kind of played a cake Western Conference, to be honest, the Pistons in the 1988 finals looked like the better team, with Isaiah Thomas as consistent as possible, Adrian Dantley being an elite scoring punch, and an army of physical defenders. The Pistons went up 3-2 before a severe ankle sprain to Isaiah Thomas would result in a 1-point loss for Detroit to push the game to 7. And this game was, well, weird. The final seconds were absolute madness. The Pistons were down 5 points with just 20 seconds left. Dennis Rodman inbounds to Vinnie Johnson, who chucks up a wild contested 30-footer. Brick. But Joe Dumars flies in, grabs the rebound, and gets the putback that cuts the lead to 3 points with 15 seconds. Detroit fouls Worthy, and it's a big moment. He misses the first, but hits the second. Lakers up 106-102. So here comes the Pistons, desperate for a shot. They move the ball around, but somehow Bill Laimbeer ends up taking a 3, and he hits it. Now it's a 1-point game, and next possession, the Pistons forget how to play defense. AC Green gets a wide-open layup. Lakers lead 108-105. Just 2 seconds left, but still time for a miracle. But now things get crazy. As soon as Green's layup goes in, people start rushing the courts. Cameramen are in the middle of the floor. Laimbeer can't even see to inbound the ball. Then look at the Lakers bench, players, coach, everyone is already celebrating on the court. The game isn't over, and somehow the refs just let it play out. This is Game 7 of the NBA Finals. There are still 2 seconds left. The Pistons have the ball, down 3, and the court is filled with people. How is this not a technical, a delay, something? But no, plays goes on. Laimbeer threads a perfect pass to Isaiah Thomas, who sprints up the court, and then boom! Magic Johnson crashes into him, clear foul, but the ref, who is standing right there, swallows the whistle. Game over, Lakers win the title, Worthy gets Finals MVP, and yeah, cue the conspiracy theories. The Lakers were the league's golden child, flashy, big market, Showtime basketball. The Pistons, physical, bruising, small market villains. You tell me who the NBA wanted in the spotlight. I mean, mixed in with a ghost fouling Kareem in Game 7, the refs didn't necessarily give the Lakers a championship, but they certainly did their best. Despite a pretty BS loss, the Pistons came back the following season, sweeping Larry Bird's Celtics, beating Jordan's Bulls for the 2nd straight season, and matching up the Lakers, who hadn't lost a game all playoffs, just to get swept in a rematch for one BS series. And that does it. Kareem retired from the NBA, Bird was on his way out due to his busted back, Magic was playing but with AIDS, and the Pistons took the final championship in the 1980s as a
How old
passing
was
of the
that nigga
torch
Magic
into the
Johnson when he caught
1990s,
AIDS,
sparking
bro?
a rivalry with the Chicago Bulls.
That's what I'm saying.
That started possibly the greatest decade in basketball history. The 1980s were wild, man. At a time where the league was sorting out their own mess they had created, the greatest rivalry in sports history carried the sport through a decade of complete chaos to truly set the stage for what would become the defining era of the sport. 1980s basketball wasn't always the best. It may not have aged as perfectly as other eras, but for a league that appeared to be on its last legs, The 1980s was such a beautiful mix of chaos, blood, sweat, and tears that still leaves us with one fascinating story over 35 years
Bro,
later.
what the fuck was that corny ass jump? That jump was corny as shit.
Thanks for watching if you made it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're trying to hit 100.
But yeah, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. That's the end of the video. One thing I realized in this joint, right? One of the things I realized is an 18-year-old back in the day versus now, bro, is two totally different things. I'm looking at it now. The way me and my friends look at the age that we are, I'm pretty sure an 18-year-old back in the day, you dead ass would think them niggas is way older than us. Like, the whole time we the same age. That's kind of how it is now too, but it's like, damn. Like, them motherfuckers really look grown as hell. So it's like, what age did you even look like you was a kid? That's really my question. But it's like, yeah, like, I don't know, man. Bro, that's crazy, the fact that they all, like, and mind you, though, right, that basically means something. Because that basically means it's something in the food nowadays. Because there's no way that, yeah, like I was saying, it's no way that, like, but like I was saying, it's no way that they look older, but we look younger. Is something stopping us from growing? And then you know they said something in the water too. They trying to say it's estrogen in the water and shit. That's why a lot of these niggas be acting like bitches a little bit and shit. I ain't even gonna lie. I'm actually starting to believe that too, bro. Cause there's no way it's just a lot of these people just emotional how they is. It's no fucking way. It's definitely some shit in the water. You know what I'm saying? But I'm starting to believe that too, cause why the fuck do I look 16, 17 years old, but I'm really 20? Like, maybe it's the fact that I'm more pure than I think I am. Or it's actually like they really putting something in our food, bro. Like, listen, y'all, I could barely even grow a full beard. I was able to like a year ago, gang. But it just always has a patch in it, so I just gotta zoop. That's crazy though, I ain't even gonna lie. But yeah, they definitely doing something to our goddamn water and shit, gang. I'm not even gonna hold you. Compared to then, oh my god, bro. I'm starting to see it. That man, food one process everything. But yeah, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Like I was saying, that's the end of the video. Y'all stay safe out there. I got something to do today. We out. We bipping. I'll see y'all boys later. You know what I'm saying? Take care.